All across our great state of Colorado are ruins of the past. We find them along the back roads and scenic byways, the trails forgotten by time, known only to the cold winter winds. These sentinels of the past take the form of mills, scattered shaft houses, tailings, head frames, the sunken log cabin hidden in the trees. These all mark for us a very tangible link to the past, a link to the Old West. What these places were might escape the less adventurous. The romance of their day may be unnoticed, but if one's willing to go beyond the lights and asphalt, you'll find it's there. And often, it's hiding in plain sight. Lies along forgotten roads, resting quietly at timberline, along a mountain stream in an alpine meadow. These are places of legend, where often fact and tale are indistinguishable, and the glory of the Old West remains today. One such story is here, at a place called Buckskin Joe. A more idyllic name couldn't have been imagined, and one that could sum up better the wilds that had been the Pikes Peak Rush of 1859. Buckskin Joe is today a ghost. The city that boomed here died over 150 years ago. But for a few short years, lived in the sun, being named county seat with a population of around 5,000 souls. One half of the population was engaged in mining, while the other half mined the miners. There were 2 hotels, 14 stores, a variety of saloons and pool halls, a bank, along with 3 dance halls. Horace Tabor was postmaster here, long before his rise to Silver King. It was in this meadow that existed that lively little burg. It was a 24-hour town, complete with a sizable red light district at one end. The city also had a brass band that would play away the hours on the street corners until one day, in 1861, the music stopped. An epidemic broke out in camp. This was a common occurrence in the Old West, and this time it was smallpox. A disease that, if it didn't kill you, left you horribly scarred. All the men in town got it, and all the women left, leaving their men to die. All but one, a dance hall girl with the stage name Silverheels. Silverheels is recorded forever now as being a girl easy on the eyes and of even easier virtue. Her given name is unknown, but her stage name certainly came from the silver-colored heels she wore while practicing her trade. She was by all accounts the most popular girl in Buckskin Joe, and danced at a popular hall on the edge of town. Here it is today, just a few logs high, buried among the trees. Once a den of sin, now retaken by nature. During the outbreak, Silverheels was obviously out of work, and began the noble job of nursing her former patrons back to health. For months, she cooked and washed for them, making the situation as comfortable as possible during the duration. Many of them died, a reported number upwards of 1,000. She saw them buried here, in the cemetery just above town. The outbreak was drawing to a close, and then one day, Silverheels caught the Small Pox herself. Those that had survived pulled together a reward for Silverheels' sacrifice, said to be around $4,000. With the county's help, the governor chipped in another 1,000. But when the townspeople went to give Silverheels the reward, they found her cabin empty. Most of her belongings were there, but she, along with the silver slippers, had vanished. In her honor, they named the peak behind the town Mount Silverheels, a name it carries to this day. That was 1861. By 1866, the town was empty. But the story had only begun to grow. Locals began seeing a heavily veiled woman in mourning among the graves of the afflicted. The reports have never stopped. They say that if you look among the trees, you might see Silverheels there, gliding between the graves. The details of Buckskin Joe, as we have told it, are fact. However, when researching any sources related to the Legend of Silverheels, we find they are either missing, not of the period, highly questionable, or having never existed at all. After the town went ghost, the truth becomes so tangled with legend, with rumor and gossip, it's hard to be sure of any of it at all. Maybe indeed it was true, and we will just never know it. It's a pity, really, because often the actual story is far more interesting than the fantasy. The site stands today, ravaged by time, but mostly by man. Buildings being carted off, vandalized. Really now, only the ground remains, that, with a few scars, along with the remains of Buckskin Joe's dead. The real story may be that indeed Buckskin Joe died in 1866, but that a piece of it got to live on in memory through a tall tale told over 150 years ago, a legend of the Old West.